So let's say that you're out to lunch somewhere, you're meeting with somebody, and you want to get their contact information, you put it in their phone. Well, guess what? Now that I just put it in my phone, it just synced my Outlook back in my office within milliseconds. So everything is the same between your mobile phone, your Outlook, and webmail. It's all the same. You put a calendar event in, it's there immediately across everything all at the same time, which is great. Next really nice things that you guys will have, calendar, contact, and task sharing. So one person, if given the permission, can literally open up somebody else's calendar, put things on it, take things away. Secretaries do it for their lawyers all the time, things of that nature, okay? You can even create public calendars. So take this room, for instance. We could have a public calendar that anybody in this building could actually organize and set a meeting response with this, with the other people attached to it. This is just in Outlook, it's called a room, okay? It's all about scheduling. And again, you can share contacts. I'll be honest with you, not many people use tasks in Microsoft Outlook. They do other things to keep themselves busy. Public folders are great. Let's say if you're an organization that has like info at Union County or something like that, and maybe you got 5 different people that could possibly need to respond to anything that comes to that. We create what's called a public folder. We give it an email address, and then we allow those 5 people to access it, respond, and keep track of all of the responses, things of that nature. Okay? All comes with it. The next 2, journaling and compliance management. This is a big one. And we're doing this for the other counties where we're doing a process called journaling, and we're attaching compliance management to where we basically store a secondary copy of all of your emails. Okay? And we don't look at them or see them, but they're sitting there for compliance reasons. So let's say somebody were to leave and quit and thinks they're going to be funny and delete all their emails out because maybe they were doing something wrong. We have a full other copy of that whole mailbox. This is for FOIA. This is for compliance. Okay? We hold those copies and any deleted emails for 180 days, or until however long you tell us to hold specific mailbox for. We can even do retentions, like in-place holds on mailboxes. So if all of a sudden you get into a legal situation with somebody, lawyers involved, they're going to say, we need to freeze this account so nothing else happens to it. We have to preserve the chain of evidence going forward for the judge, 40 years from now, whatever the case may be. We can place a hold on these mailboxes to where nothing more can happen to them, keep them around. Okay? So, very important piece to the whole exchange thing. Something you don't have right now. Next is a daily spam summary. If you kick back to page, this is an example of it, page 40. There's a sample junk email notification, okay? This junk email notification we'll get every day at around 4 o'clock to show all of the emails that we have blocked or stopped or coming in for whatever reason. Viruses, spyware, malware, it doesn't matter. If it's just spam, we will block it. Gives you the ability to unblock your emails. When you unblock, it'll permanently whitelist that person so the problem never comes back. We do this for the sake of security. We have a lot of filtering that happens, a lot of security that we put on the email. Our goal and what we tell clients is you will never get a virus from us by using our email hosting because we have so many security mechanisms before the email even gets to you. Okay? So, but that is something that you do and get every day. There are some changes that you can make to it, like if you want to see it just weekly or hourly or every 10 hours, whatever the case may be, you can even adjust our aggressiveness on it.
We can monitor this as far as happening constantly to say one
Yes.
workstation.
We do it across the board for all of our email hosting customers at all times. So everything is, the same SonicWall I'm suggesting that we need to have here are the same set of SonicWalls that we're using in our data center right now.
But what I'm saying is, instead of us having to look at this report or her every day, you will have a red flag pop up if workstation upstairs in this corner is constantly getting.
We don't normally watch for that kind of stuff because people get spammed, and some people more than others. All we can promise you is that anything that's going to be harmful is not going to come through.
Okay.
Okay? We've had some clients that get 400 or 500 emails a day. They move to our email hosting, it comes down to 30 because of everything we're doing to stop the bad from coming through. That's all our job is to play defense 24/7, 365 in a magnitude of different ways, all to make sure that we're running constantly. So, So retention, again, we give a 90-day retention on deleted emails. So if you delete anything out of your inbox or webmail or on your phone, whatever the case may be, you can actually restore it yourself right from Microsoft Outlook, and it'll be there for 90 days. This does not affect our journaling and our compliance stuff. So if we put something on hold, we could have a mailbox on hold for 5 years. However long you tell us to put it on hold, it's there for it, okay? So, not part of our proposal is secure email. We do have the ability that you can send encrypted emails out. It's an additional cost of $5 per user. We were told in the last meeting that it probably wasn't going to be necessary, but it is there in case you do want to send encrypted emails to people who are not on our email system. Okay. Last but not least, secure Wi-Fi. So let's say if you get somebody that leaves, that does have their cell phone configured for email and whatnot, and they leave maybe disgruntled or whatever the case may be, we can send a signal to that phone to wipe out any Williamson County information that would be on that phone from our email hosting, all within just a couple of clicks. Doesn't destroy the phone, doesn't delete pictures or anything like that, but any contacts that they put in will, the phone numbers will stay, but the names are gone. Anything on the calendar, gone. The inbox, the sent items, all that stuff gone by us clicking. Okay. So we do recommend that you have employees sign a document saying that they're aware we have that ability if they're going to set up their phone for our service. Okay. So never gotten into any trouble with it, it's just one of those things. Last but not least, the website hosting portion of it, as long as the customer has an active service level agreement with us, website hosting is included in our monthly price once again. Okay. So far our monthly price that you're seeing includes all of our 24/7 support. It includes our email hosting, all of our monitoring, our disaster recovery, and now our website hosting. So when I say we're throwing the sink at this thing, we've got everything in it. The next portion is just a sample draft agreement that we've got. Of course, these can be modified if necessary. For the most part, it does detail everything that I've said. Let's see. Oh, also included in our price is social media. Unlike other IT companies, we actually have Mayor branding, which is basically still all under one roof. They're in the same building with us. They're not technically a different company. We just call them different. They're branding, we're networks, okay? So we have a whole other staff of people over there that will do things like post your board minutes, onto Facebook, or post your video, or if any one of the departments wants to email them an update or whatever the case may be, they'll put it up there for them. So that's simple, completely managed. At the same time, they're going to manage YouTube, which is kind of another big thing, is that we have to get all of the YouTube videos of your board meetings out of Raleigh's personal account, which that's where it is right now on YouTube, and we need to put it into a Union County YouTube account and move all of them over. So that's one of the things we need to do. Again, all included in our price, it's just something that has to be done. So the social media is included. Also, the monthly website maintenance is included. So we give you up to 5-6 hours a month of any updates that you guys want to see done to the website. Okay. And again, you just email in a ticket or call in a ticket, whatever the case may be. They interact with our systems in the same that the technicians do. Okay, it's all the same system. So we've got a lot of stuff. If you look at page 24 there's a lot of stuff that we put in this. And I'd say a lot of things here that you guys have never had before. A lot of upgrades, a lot of bigger things. The monitoring is something you guys don't really have. I know you're paying extra for like your website hosting, the maintenance of the website, stuff like that. Your email hosting currently being with Raleigh. We're giving you basically like the Hercules of email systems here. All the disaster recovery stuff that normally companies charge a lot more for, we've included into one price.
Are you going to be able to tell when you start moving stuff over or whatever we have to do, as far as what backup we supposedly have now?
Yes.
Are you going to be able to tell if it's
Yes.
there or not?
Yes. The first thing that we would do is basically a whole assessment all over again. And my feeling is that this assessment is going to be very long. It's going to probably be 10 to 15 pages worth of information that I pull out. I mean, think about it. Everything I've talked about as far as the issues that I've seen so far, that was with 2 hours.
All right, I understand.
What if I had a week? So I really feel, unfortunately, that we're just scratching the surface of what we're actually going to find.
Well, another thing you just said made me think of it. You get the YouTube stuff off Raleigh's over on ours. Are you gonna be able to scrub his stuff?
We won't, but we'll have to just ask him politely, hey, remove it. All we can do, with him knowing or without him knowing, it doesn't matter, but we can get copies of the YouTube videos so we can put them back up somewhere else. But, you know, a simple letter saying, hey, do us a favor and just delete those, you know, should suffice. So,
I'm just using that as an example, I just.
yeah. I think that, you know, all in all, I think with Raleigh, there's going to be some assistance, at least in the first few weeks going forward, just to make sure we've got everything covered. You know, of course, our biggest obstacle that we're gonna have to do is, we're gonna have to reverse engineer everything that's been done here. Because we now need to know all the holes, we need to know all the ins and outs. Because furthermore, we need to make sure that we've locked Raleigh out.
That's what I'm getting at.
And it's nothing against Raleigh, it's
No,
a simple
I
fact
understand, but
that that's the
just
security we have to do.
security, period, so.
So,
Since that's what we're talking about.
yeah, I'll be honest, we were hired by Southern Illinois Dermatology probably about 2.5 years ago. They have 12 locations, 130 employees, okay? We manage everything. They had an internal IT person that quit with 3 days' notice. So we were brought on board, and I'd say within a week, this person was accessing the network remotely without us knowing, because we still hadn't gotten around to how large this environment was. We were still working on everything. And it went as far as us having to get the FBI involved. We did have all of this auditing logging set up to where we could watch everything while we were in the midst of getting everything going. Got the FBI involved. Guy was picked up a month and a half later. So, not saying that will happen or anything, I'm just saying that once, we have certain methods of how we take over to ensure.
Well, again, I guess I'm probably asking the same question over and over.
Uh-huh.
Once you check into this backup system and see what is actually there,
Yeah.
can you get rid of the old backup system? I mean,
Yes.
is it gonna be
I would
erased?
assume that there's some relationship with you guys in the hospital to where there's information
Right.
over there. So yeah, we would need to talk to whoever's over there so we can go over there and whatever's there, get it out of there and just stop doing it. You know, again, I really think that when it comes down to the plan here of where to start, first and foremost are all the backups, just to make sure that we've got backups here. We're covering our butt, all right?
Right.
But then after that, it's the whole assessment, figure out where we need to go, what needs to be paid the most attention to, and then literally after that, start writing out a list of everything in accordance with level of severity of what needs to be attacked, okay? And then we basically go into deployment mode for however long it takes, while at the same time supporting the users and trying not to cause any disruption or downtime, or whatever the case may be. So,
Speaking of your pricing,
Yes, ma'am.
I see that, you know, the monthly amount, but it's also broken down for us by the unit price and the quantity.
Yes.
If the amount of our users change and all of a sudden we have more email users, or on the other hand, less email
Sure.
users, is the price adjusted,
It
or are
adjusts.
we just saying this is what it kind of, what made it this amount?
it adjusts at all times. Okay, so if you call us and let's say you've got an email hosting user, right? And halfway through the month, you say they're no longer with us, well, we actually prorate our bill at that point. So the moment you put in that ticket that that person's not there, the billing stops. So even though it's,
Okay,
I think we have it in our
$79.
$7.50 a person or something. So all of a sudden, bam, we just cut it in half. It's now $3.50 for that person. Now you're not paying for the rest of the month. It's just a way that we can save money because you're not using our system.
And we based that 79 on the count of users that you guys had in your actual bid. And so it's entirely possible that, you know, we could come in and we could determine that, you know, maybe this isn't a user, or maybe, you know, that could change. So your price could actually go down or up depending on what your, you know, what your actual email user count will be at the end of the day, you know.
Because see, we bill by the person, not by how many email addresses you have. One person could have 20 email addresses, I don't care, it's just still one person. Okay? So, then of course the biggest whammy that I would love to do for you guys, that's our price, $45.06, yeah, plus or minus whatever happens with, if we've got the completely accurate number of workstations, an accurate number of people for email hosting, etc. But the big kicker of what I would like to do for you guys is that if you do give us, you know, a 3-year agreement, I would like to completely, as an in-kind, you know, favor, build you guys a whole brand new website.
and that's what the Microsoft SharePoint was that you were saying would be different?
No, that would still be on the IT side as far as Microsoft SharePoint, building that whole site. I have no idea what that would come to. what I did for this down here, this is for the actual Union County government website.
I don't know what the Microsoft SharePoint is then. I thought that was our county website.
No.
What is that?
Do you have a Microsoft SharePoint 3.0 website running?
Oh, what?
I don't really know.
Oh,
It's something that Raleigh
It's-
has set up.
It's something that Raleigh has out there that people are accessing. I think that's just one of those things where we need more information on to know what it is.
oh, okay.
Yeah. But
So
what
that may not even be a cost to you guys,
Right,
if
it
you,
may-
if you
right.
decide you don't wanna do
it's
anything.
nothing, it's nothing, you know, so.
That's why the price that we quoted is our actual price. And then that would be like an extra project if we found out that, yeah, we do need to
Somebody's
use
using
this,
Yeah.
but we need it to be updated, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
It's just one of those things, we didn't have enough information on to really accurately quote anything for it, so. And you may not even be using it, so.
Right, that's, again, that's why, that's kind of our oddball as far as possible costs in the future. This is for the main Union County government website, so a brand new one. And that'll include headshots, you know, we kind of looked at the current website, tried to look at all the, you know, who's gonna be the important people we're gonna take headshots of, and kind of started throwing all that in there.
Not him.
But then we've, at this point, if you ever go to Williamson County's website, we actually built that. We're in the process right now of building Perry County's, and City of Carterville's are actually in production right now, so.
Can we get away, and I've asked everybody this, I mean, now, our meetings are live, delayed live, or put on there later on
Sure.
YouTube. Can we go live?
Yes. Yeah, very easily, as a matter of fact. I mean, you can very easily have live YouTube events, for instance. So you don't even really need to record them and then upload them. The live event will
That's what I thought.
stream it right there, so.
Thank you.
And then we can, of course, if you give us a heads up that you guys are gonna go live at 7 PM on Friday, for instance, well, we can make a Facebook post saying, hey, live stream Friday, here it is. You know, so, might actually make things easier. So, let's see here. You guys asked for a couple of sample invoices, so we've got those in there. And next, you know, we kind of chose, we have a lot of letters of recommendation, I probably have 20 to 30 of them, something like that. You know, we do manage somewhere around 130 businesses, banks, or government facilities in some way, okay? So I went ahead and picked the ones that were either A, kind of your size, or B, in your realm of, you know, nature. So, if you'd like any more references or letters of recommendation, I'd be happy to bring them to you. So I believe that if you were to call any people on this list here, you'd get nothing but rave reviews. I think that's probably why they give us a letter in the first place. So, let's see. Josh, Perry County, they've been with us for, I think, a little over a year now. City of Carterville, about 2 years. City of Harrisburg, about 5 years. Circuit Court Clerk's Office, which is judges, public defenders, et cetera. So that's going to be about 15 years. Okay, so, Carterville Elementary School District, which is a very complex, big one, surprisingly, but I think that's been about 2.5 years so far. So, for the most part, I'll be honest with you, and say that we gain probably about 2 or 3 clients a month, and it's literally been almost 5 years since we've lost one. Not being arrogant, I'm just being honest and truthful of how we see our business going. So,
I have one quick question.
Sure.
When you were talking about purchasing hardware and being able to get good pricing,
Yeah.
if for some reason we don't want to go through you to buy some piece of hardware, can we
you can
buy it
it anywhere you
ourselves
want,
and you
I don't
still
care.
take care of
Yeah,
installing?
I did
or-
not put
Okay.
any kind of requirement that it has to be bought from me.
Okay.
I want, just like with any client, I want what's best for the client. And keep in mind, my role here is more of the consultant. Sure, I've got all the IT ability, and I got technicians, and I have a data center, and I can do a lot of really awesome things. I'm here first and foremost as the consultant to guide you and give you paths. Whatever's going to be best for the county and for my client, that's where I'm going to go. Okay? So, that's why, exactly why I didn't put a restriction, so you had to buy the equipment from me. So, granted, more than likely we will, because I'm going to beat everybody's pricing, period, you know, of what we get, but
And you don't mark up their pricing?
no. I actually show you the detailed quotes themselves. So, and also, since we're partners as well, you can, I can actually get you guys introduced to our Dell leasing reps. through Dell Financial. So in case we don't want to just buy something, we would like to lease it, you know, I basically turn it over to the Dell leasing side, and you guys are doing down that road with them, so. And then, you know, kind of in the back, I guess page 37 talks about the current website sitemap, and I had my branding team actually build out what would be a new sitemap for the website. But that's all something that could be discussed, you know, if we're chosen, B, if you go for a 3-year. So again, for the free website. I believe at this point, that's just about all I've got. So I think I've included just about everything I possibly can, so.
Actually, you've answered a lot of the questions I had. You very well.
Okay.
I noticed here that you got the Jackson County Circuit Clerk.
Yeah.
How's that work in relationship with the circuit clerk that, you know, their IPs to
John
the
Murray.
First Circuit?
John Murray, the reason why I've only recently in the last year or two started hearing of this guy is because he doesn't exist in Jackson County. There's no John Murray. There's us. And everybody seems to be under the impression that this John Murray is appointed to work with the judges and all their computers. This is not, I don't understand how this person's got this position, because this is, I don't even honestly know who's paying him for doing this work. Because he's not like a mandated, required position by any means. So I don't know where he comes from or anything of the sort, but we've been doing the circuit clerk's office, which is also the public defender's office, the judges. It used to be also the state's attorney's office until that got moved to the county side. But we've been doing all this for 15 years and never once had a bump in with John Murray. So, yeah. And I don't think we're using him in Perry County either, because we have not only Perry County, but we also have the courthouse, we have the sheriff's office, so we don't have any bump in with him up there either. So again, I just don't know where this person fits. In all honesty, all I keep hearing is the dude's never around, so Raleigh has been fixing his stuff. That's what I hear. So, and actually with Williamson County, I heard the same thing. So, that their internal IT guy, at the time he was there, was taking care of some of what should have been John Murray's. So again, I don't know this person, I've never met him. I don't know what responsibility level he's got or who's paying him or anything of the sort. This here was an elusive guy hanging around, you know, so.
We've heard him too.
Huh?
We've heard of him too.
So I would be more than happy, you know, without a doubt, to take over everything, because we completely have the ability to do so. Any other questions, anybody?
And the county officers have anything?
So you have definite counties, I know, now that
Yes.
you mentioned Perry.
Yes.
So you mentioned like maybe our approach to allowing them access and you don't.
I do not,
You
yeah,
do different.
we do differently.
So they'll be familiar
When
with our.
I'll give you an example. So when we came into Perry County, Fiddler and DevNet were allowed to basically log in through remote desktop at any time they wanted to with full administrator access to get onto whatever they wanted. We immediately stopped that. Because again, we're the ones that feel that we're responsible, okay? So we don't want other people coming in on our watch and then possibly hurting something, damaging something, and then we either A, have to fix it, or we look bad because of it. And at the same time frame, you know, yes, these are our vendors and we should have some sort of a level of trust with them. I'm sorry, I don't trust anybody. I don't even trust users. I have plenty of safeguards in place to keep my network running regardless of who tries to do anything to it. These people, I don't know them, they're not friends of mine or anything of the sorts. They're just, we have to keep ourselves secure from them. So what we do with Perry County is they have to call our office and ask for, you know, a technician to let them get in. We watch what they do live on whatever server that they're on. We strip them of all administrative abilities. We give them just enough rights to do their job, but nothing more. This then alleviates our security concern. And when they're done, we close the connection down, they're gone. Yeah, again, it's a pain for them because it kind of delays a little bit. It doesn't stop their level of service. It doesn't stop anything we're doing with Fiddler or DevNet, but it gives us all of our security and our control back. So that's preferred.
So like we help desk them, and then they contact you, they don't automatically do connect login or whatever
Right.
like they do.
Right, they contact us if they have to get onto a server. Now, they have other ways of accessing, you know, like workstations and stuff like that, if they're having issues.
That they can still do
That
that.
they can still do that all on their own, as long as somebody's there watching them and it's not a constant connection, we're
Because
okay.
the way it is now, they have access through a piece, through a workstation to the server, say they want to do a file shift or roll from
Well, yeah, then
me
again,
to the county clerk.
yeah, the moment they try to access a server is when we have to get involved.
Okay, so, so say they say, we'll take care of that at 4:15 or something after you all shut down.
Yeah,
How would that work with the,
they call us and
they call
schedule
you
it at the
and
same
you,
time.
okay.
Yep.
It won't slow anything down.
Nope. No, it hasn't so far in Perry County. I mean, again, yeah, they're probably a little annoyed that we make them jump through a hoop, but that's all for the security of the county. I could care less.
Yeah.
You know, if it makes them work a little harder, so be it. You know, we're paying them either way.
I just didn't understand how it would work, but yeah.
Yeah.
So are you contacting the office over to let them know that's happening?
We don't usually, because normally they're, like Perry County, for instance, we already know that something's gonna happen, because they're the ones who initiate the ticket with them in the first place. You see what I mean?
Okay.
So, we normally don't, however, it's the same part of our monitoring and our auditing and logging that we go through, these reports that everybody gets, you will see anytime somebody like that connects in remotely. It'll actually have a list there of all the times my technicians connect in remotely for any reason. Same thing with Fiddler or DevNet or anybody else for that matter. Okay. So, again, we keep that audit trail, okay, for all time, so. Did you have something?
I did. I've shared this with others today. I mean, we have two buildings. I think you sound like you had some limited access. I don't know how much access to our server so far. We have fiber running into one building. I have repeatedly wanted to change how we're doing this. I think you've already pointed out that this is very weak, and that's what I've been saying all along.
Yeah.
What is your vision? What is your solution for between the buildings because of the PCR reporting that's going on with patient information that they coming back to my server or a centralized point? I don't have a problem with that, as long as it's encrypted, protected.
First and
How would you do that physically? What's your plan on that?
First and foremost, you know, if we were to be hired on to take care of this, I need to run out and get what's called an SSL certificate, that $14, $15 thing. So at least your remote desktop stuff that you're doing, at least it's secure. I have to reconfigure laptops, whatever computers you're using, but I gotta reconfigure that real fast. Not a big deal, just, at least we've got a 256-bit layer of security when you're talking to that server. But I think personally in the long haul, I would like to see that you guys don't actually have any data there whatsoever. Because it's just like, you ever seen the movie Gladiator? There's a big part in the fight scenes where he's like, you know, hey, everybody come together, we have to do this together as one, right? So they're in the middle of a big brawl, and everybody's out there in the center, okay? And they're fighting against, you know, the big bad guys and whatnot, big chariot races going around them and stuff. The one little two guys that are hanging out there get killed. That's kind of how I look at you. I would rather see your data here in the center with everybody else. And if you're using remote desktop as it is, why don't we put your data and information here, protected by a big wall, you know, with maybe a VPN coming in, to where we can secure you and even separate the hospital logically away from the rest of Union County if we needed to. But why don't we pull you in to make you part of our bigger group? Because we're going to be stronger together as opposed to you being out there on your own. And that goes the same thing with any other departments that are out there.
I have no problem with what you're saying, but the question is, I have two buildings and there is information traveling between those two buildings.
Right.
What is your vision? What is your solution for how we're going to secure when that information is input, leaving the one building, going back to my office building where my server currently exists?
Well, how are you inputting that data right now? So I don't know this. All we've done, the only thing that we've actually done is Raleigh popped into your server remotely, and that's when I immediately noticed how he was connecting to it that sparked the insecurity. That's all I know. I've never not actually been to the locations or anything of the sort. I don't even really know what the server's made up of, if it's Dell, it's HP, or what.
Well, physically, what's going on is the input's happening, and when we say that's on a wireless G network, I mean, we're talking WEP encryption.
Okay.
I mean, I made this joke earlier. I think my child can hack it.
Sure.
This is my worry because of all the HIPAA compliance and everything, the pressure that's on us. to make sure that we keep this data safe and that it's encrypted when it winds up on a centralized server or whatever. But we need to change it because there's fiber into one building. I requested it in two, but there's fiber only into one building.
Okay.
So when we run this bridge that's running right now.
So you've got a wireless bridge between the two
Yes.
locations? Okay.
And so, you know, I had mentioned this morning, do we use something as simple as Ubiquity, you know, put a nano beam in?
Yeah.
Pretty good product, not expensive to put
Ubiquity's
in, we
great.
have it up in a day.
Yeah.
You know, we have clear line of sight, but I just want to make sure that this ghosted signal is secure, or secure as we can make it, short of us putting fiber into the other building and us carrying it on
Yeah.
a hard line.
I think that, you know, so let me ask this, when you are in the one building that doesn't have fiber, are you actually running a program straight on your computer, or are you using remote desktop?
We are running a downloaded program from Public Health
Okay.
that is provided to us, which is NEMC compliant. So in other words, when it hits Public Health in Springfield and Chicago, when we save that report, it automatically, the assumption is made at least, that that report is now in Springfield, Chicago.
Okay.
We report live time.
Right.
So I can pick up the phone and call my computer people up there that I talk to frequently, and they can tell me to make sure these things go through. But I'm worried about this connection between the buildings, and that's been one of my points.
Well, A, I didn't know you even had that kind of a wireless jump, so I therefore have no idea how it's configured or what kind of security is put on it. There are ways to encapsulate data inside of wireless to make it encrypted, okay? So the question is then what kind of hardware do you have, or what kind of possible hardware are we gonna need? But I think I'm gonna stick to my original thought that your server should probably be here, you guys using that remote desktop to get to there. And so then all communication at that point between you and here, well, we'll build a VPN with some encryption going through it. We'll even have encryption on a remote desktop connection. So you'll have encryption going from the one building across the wireless onto the fiber. Well, then we're still gonna hop through a VPN. So we'll actually have two layers of encryption going on there. The first being the remote desktop, and then the second being the VPN coming back through.
Okay.
That's what I think we should do. And then at the same time, our costs for all of your equipment and stuff like that out there take a nosedive, because the workstations don't matter anymore. We're just using them as a terminal to get somewhere else,
right.
you know, so we can save money in the long haul by doing that.
Now,
We do a lot of that kind of procedure.
I may be repeating the question, and if I am, I know Scott, you asked this a second ago, but when someone, if a ticket is put in for whatever level of something that we need done, we're having problems with it.
Sure.
Something. And one of your people, would they have to ask for our permission to remote in? Or are these things gonna happen behind the scene and we don't know it?
Both in a way, okay? So first and foremost, what they're always gonna do, my guys have 1 hour to actually, to call you to say when they're going to, you know, work on the issue. The clock's still ticking on the response time, right? They've got 1 hour to let you know, either they schedule it with you, or maybe they're calling you right up in there and they say, hey, can I pop in remotely right now, okay? Either way, they give you a heads up if they're gonna pop in remotely. Now, sometimes if we find out that it's a critical issue, you need to get on something quick, they're probably already logging in before they've picked up the phone, but in that case, a message pops up on the screen saying, you know, James or Quentin or Dylan or whoever it may be has now logged on. There's a nice little window, and you should immediately start chatting with the person, okay? So it kind of depends on the situation. And real quick on a side note, one thing I wanted that I didn't actually make clear, level of severity, that's actually determined in conjunction with you guys. So if you say that this is a critical event, I've got a problem, I need this now, well, that's a higher level of severity.
Well, you know there's a lot of critical events in it.
We try to keep them under control as best as humanly possible, okay? We try to tell somebody, hey, if you've got 5 printers and one of them going down is not really a critical event, if you can print to another one, okay?
Yeah.
But we still, and over time, we learn. We learn what is, you know, what is and what isn't, okay? So, but yeah, there may be some times where, you know, for instance, a lot of our work can be, let's say we get an alert that a computer is running low on hard drive space. We can actually be on that system without you even knowing that we're there. We're not on the desktop, we're not moving your mouse, we're not stopping you from working, but yet we can see your file system, and maybe we're getting rid of some temp files, or maybe we're doing other things to the computer for performance reasons or space reasons. There could be a lot of other stuff. But if you're calling for actual support on something, more than likely, our technicians will interface with you directly.
Okay, on HIPAA level compliance, are you privy to be able to see those reports?
That depends if we have an agreement with you or not.
Well,
Because 9 times out of 10, what we actually do is we don't have access to people's medical software. We might have an admin account that has some sort of a limited access, just so we can make sure the software is working. But believe it or not, with, I'd say 99% of software out there, we don't need to know how it works, we don't even need a log on, we just need to make sure it's running. That's it. That whatever backend, database engines or whatever the case may be that are making this thing work, that they are there. I'll give you an example. We have Community Health and Emergency Services. They have one internal IT person for 14 locations and 354 employees, okay? We're in charge of the data center and the core network configuration, which is something in the nature of 35 servers across a lot of different locations. They run a software called NextGen, okay? Same thing that SIH run, or used to run. They moved on to Epic now. NextGen, we don't even have a login and password for it, nor do I know how it works or know what to do anything with it whatsoever. But I can install it, I can make sure all the database engines are running, I can make sure that imagery is working for that software. So again, just for us to be able to support something doesn't necessarily mean we have to have access to it.
If I turn this data over to you, and we do have a breach, who's responsible?
Well, that's a very good question, because I think at that point, it depends on where the breach came from. Because if it's your own people that caused it or did it, I would say that you're responsible.
Okay, so we do an input, we run through whatever procedure's been set up with you, and somehow someone, for lack of a better term, hacks the server. I mean, what side of the line does that fall on?
Well, honestly, I don't know. Because A, it's never happened to us. We take so many different security precautions on every means of communication that, to stop anything like that from the first place. I'll tell you right now, you could have been already breached and not even know it. With the way the security is here in this place, I mean, it could already be happening. So, to be honest with you, I would think at that time the courts would probably decide who's responsible and who's not. All I can tell you is that we make every effort to ensure that your name and my name never end up in the paper. That's all I can tell you.
Well, that was what I was working towards, because, a breach over so many people becomes a public event.
Oh, sure.
And, I mean, I said it earlier in the day, you're contacting local media because you have to.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And that's not a position I ever want to put my office or this
Oh,
entity in, and that's the reason I'm saying, the cooperative business agreement that has to happen
Yeah.
to protect that information. Once it leaves our facility, is it encrypted and where is it stored and so on and so forth. That's not something that I can do, that's something you would have to do. But I want
I
to know
can
how we can work something like this out to make sure we protect this.
Yeah, I can tell you that no matter what happens, we would be responsible for the most part. Because we are the ones taking on the responsibility of protecting you in the first place. Granted,